He was trembling. His body hovered over my muscles, tight, struggling to move any deeper, and still I didn't ask him to stop. His breath broke against my cheek in shallow bursts. Jaw-clenched hands pressed into the sheets, like he needed to anchor himself, like this was something he couldn't control. Every push inside me felt heavier, slower, thicker, like he was trying to hold back, but couldn't. His hips stalled, buried too deep, and for a second he went still, just breathing hard against my neck. His arms shaking under the weight of us. I wrapped my legs tighter around him. His voice was hoarse. It's too much, but I didn't let go. I wanted all of it, all of him. His scent was still soaked into my shirt, clean sweat cologne, that faint trace of eucalyptus from his gym bag. His chest grazed mine with every small movement. My nails pressed into his shoulders as his rhythm finally returned slow and heavy, every inch of him dragging deep again as his whole body trembled from holding it back too long. I kept my eyes open the entire time because I wanted to remember exactly how this moment felt. I never imagined I'd cross this line. Not here. Not with him. Not with the one person I trusted with my body, in the most literal, vulnerable sense. My trainer. He was my escape from the pressure, the routines, the parts of me that always felt like they didn't belong anywhere else. The gym had become my one private world, and he was the man who pushed me, spotted me, corrected my form, encouraged me through injury and exhaustion. Always respectful, always professional, until he wasn't. I'm 39, married, no kids. I'd been doing everything I was supposed to do. I meal prepped, I worked, I checked in, I smiled politely at gatherings, I didn't flirt, I didn't let anyone in, and I thought I'd been managing just fine. But sometimes fine is just the absence of collapse. He was 28, not even close to my age, tall, steady, not loud or overly confident like the other trainers. He had this quiet focus that made you want to follow directions, that made you feel safe, even when your legs were shaking from that last rep. He used to count my reps out loud. That calm, low voice, steadying my breath. 6, 7. You've got more in you, keep going. And I did. I always did. Because of him. So how did we get here? What would you do if the man you trusted with your physical limits, the one who held you up when you collapsed into the bench after a brutal set, looked at you like he wanted to take your body for something other than progress? And what if you let him? It started 2 weeks ago. We'd been doing a Saturday session, just us, gym nearly empty. I was in leggings and a sports bra, sweat-pouring legs, shaking breath tight. He was crouched beside me, adjusting my knee position, one hand on my thigh, the other steadying my back. His fingers were firm, warm, too slow to move away. When I glanced at him, he was looking at my mouth. He pulled away, fast, cleared his throat. Sorry. Just your stance was collapsing. I nodded, said nothing. But I felt it, that shift. We didn't mention it afterward. I changed, went home, tried to tell myself I'd imagined it. That it was just the moment, but the next time he didn't touch me quite the same way. He waited. He asked, you good with hands-on adjustments? He never used to ask. I said yes. He didn't speak much that session. But I caught him watching me between sets, not in a checking form way, not in a trainer way, in a man looking at a woman way. It made my stomach twist, because I liked it. That night I texted him, just a thank you for the session. He replied, you crushed it. I've never seen you move like that. I stared at the screen for 5 minutes before replying, must have been the motivation. He replied with one word, dangerous. I couldn't sleep after that. I kept picturing his hands, his breath. That way his body hovered just a little too close when I stretched on the mat. 2 nights later, it happened. He offered to walk me to my car after a late session, said the lot was dark. I let him. I could have said no. We paused by my driver's side. He didn't lean in. He just stood there, silent, breathing hard, like he'd been holding back 1,000 words. Then I reached for his shirt, and everything snapped. We didn't even make it to a bed. We made it to my couch, clothes half off, mouths open, hands greedy breath crashing. He tried to stop twice, pulled back, said my name, shook his head like he was trying to wake up, but I pulled him in again. He was thick, bigger than I expected. The way he pressed in slow, careful body, trembling from restraint, made me gasp out loud and hold on to the cushions. He paused when he hit deep, trying to control it. But I wouldn't let him. I wanted him to lose control. I needed him to. And when he finally gave in, when he moved inside me with every ounce of built-up pressure, the way he fought himself, his whole body shaking, it made me feel more alive than I'd felt in years. Now he's still above me, still inside me, his forehead resting on mine, like we've both just destroyed something we don't know how to rebuild. But I don't care, because I needed this, even if it costs me everything. And if you're still here with me, still listening, then maybe part of you knows exactly what I mean. So keep watching, because this story only gets more intense. And if you want to hear more real confessions like this one, hit like, subscribe, and stay until the end. What happens next, I never saw coming. It's strange how quickly everything can feel different after one night. The next morning, I woke up to find my shirt inside out on the floor, his hoodie draped over the back of the couch, and a dull ache between my thighs that felt too good to regret. He was gone by then. Quiet. No note. No text. But I knew he'd been there. I could feel it in my skin, the imprint of his weight, the way my hips still felt sensitive, where his hands had gripped too tightly. I didn't know what to expect. Shame, guilt, panic. What I felt was awake. My husband was out of town. Again. A week-long conference in Phoenix. I didn't even check to see when he'd be back. Lately he came and went like a polite roommate, good with chores, bad with intimacy, and even worse with noticing I was disappearing one layer at a time. We hadn't touched each other in 4 months. I used to count. Now I didn't need to. I made coffee, sat in the kitchen in my robe, looked at the place where David, my trainer, had been standing the night before when he first kissed me. He kissed like he wasn't supposed to mouth, hungry hands, careful like he wanted to memorize and erase me all at once. He kept checking my face, my breath, watching for hesitation. But I didn't flinch. I kissed him back like it was the only thing still honest in my life. That day he didn't message. I didn't either. But I replayed it all, his voice in the dark, the way he struggled to hold himself back when he pressed deeper, how his whole body tensed when he finally let go inside me like he'd been holding that need for months. The next time we saw each other, it was back in the gym. Same studio, same playlist, same mat. But everything had changed. I walked in and he was already setting up equipment. When he looked at me, I saw the hesitation in his eyes, the flicker of memory. He didn't smile like usual, just nodded and said, "Hey." I nodded back. Morning. We didn't speak about it. He was professional focused but a little quieter. His hands only touched me when they had to. No lingering, no sidelong glances, and still I felt every brush of his fingers, like it burned. That hour was brutal weighted lunges, slow burn, glute sets. He didn't go easy on me. If anything, he pushed harder. I pushed back. The sweat, the ache, the fire in my muscles, it all blurred into this unspoken tension between us. At the end of the session, he said, "You okay?" I wiped my forehead, nodded. "Yeah, you." He paused. "I don't regret it." I stared at him. "I'm just trying to figure out what this is." He added barely above a whisper. I nodded again. "Me too." He exhaled, ran a hand through his hair. "Can I see you again?" "You're seeing me now." "No," he said. "Not here." My chest tightened. "You want to?" He looked me straight in the eye. "I haven't stopped." That night we met in the parking lot. I didn't even go home to change. Just climbed into his truck and sat in silence while he drove. He didn't take me somewhere fancy. He didn't even ask what I wanted. He took me to a lookout spot by the ridge, quiet, hidden. The kind of place teenagers go when they're too young to get a room. And somehow, that made it worse, better real. We sat in the truck, the city lights blinking beneath us. I stared out the window while he sat still beside me, hand flexing on the wheel. Finally, he said, "Do you hate me?" For last time I turned toward him. "Do you hate yourself?" He blinked. "No, then I don't either." He nodded. Looked down at his lap. "It's not just your body," he said. "It's not like I wanted just that. I know you're different than I expected." I tilted my head. "How did you expect me?" He laughed, quiet and self-conscious, married put together out of reach. "I thought the same thing about you." He leaned back in the seat, eyes on the ceiling. "You looked at me like I was more than just someone who made you sweat. You made me feel like I had a body again." His head turned. "What does that mean?" "It means I didn't realize how long I'd been numb." Neither of us moved. The air inside the truck was heavy. Breathing felt like a confession. He didn't kiss me that night. We didn't touch. But when he drove me back and parked a few blocks from my house, he reached across the console and held my hand. Not possessive, not lustful, just warm human. It was the smallest thing he could have done, and it undid me completely. He started coming to my house, not often, not in ways that would raise suspicion, just small, believable reasons. A forgotten water bottle, a quick check-in when he was nearby. Once he said he was dropping off a protein powder sample because the gym got a shipment early. I let him in each time. I didn't offer coffee. I didn't pretend it was innocent. But we didn't touch. That was the worst part. The stillness, the restraint, the heat under the surface every time we stood too close in my kitchen. The hum of the refrigerator, louder than the space between us. I'd hand him a glass of water and feel my fingers twitch when his brushed mine. His eyes would follow me when I walked back to the sink, and I'd feel my spine straighten, aware of every movement, every curve I usually ignored in the mirror. He never said anything, but I saw it in his jaw, the way he clenched it every time he turned to leave. One day, he stayed longer. It was raining hard. He was supposed to drop something off and go just a bag of resistance bands I'd asked to borrow for at-home work. I opened the door, and his hair was soaked water dripping down the back of his neck, darkening the collar of his shirt. He looked younger like that, less composed, messier. "You're drenched," I said, stepping back. He shrugged, didn't think it'd hit this fast. "Take that off," I said, nodding at his hoodie. He hesitated for half a second, then pulled it off, revealing the fitted black t-shirt underneath already sticking to his chest. I turned away, pretending to busy myself in the kitchen, but I could feel his presence big and quiet behind me. I poured tea. My hands were steady, but my stomach twisted. "You want to wait it out?" I asked over my shoulder. He said nothing for a second too long. "Yeah," he finally replied. "If that's okay." I nodded, handed him a mug. We sat at the counter, the air between us thicker than the rain outside. I didn't know how to talk to him anymore, not without wanting to pull him back into the space between my legs, not without remembering how he sounded when he lost control. Gritted breath, strangled groan, the way he muttered God when he sank in deep. "You okay?" he asked, finally breaking the silence. I nodded. "Yeah, just tired." He didn't press, but then he said quietly, "You look different lately." I looked up. Different how? He shrugged, eyes on his mug, less guarded, more alive. My breath hitched. "I've been thinking about that night," he added. "I haven't stopped," I admitted. He looked at me and something cracked, that familiar flicker behind his eyes. Want, guilt, need I haven't touched anyone, since he said. My fingers tightened around the mug. "Not just because of you," he added, "but mostly." I couldn't answer, not with words, so I set the mug down, stood up, and walked to the window. I pressed my palms to the frame and stared at the street, pretending the tension knotting in my stomach wasn't about to win. He stepped up behind me, slowly. His voice was low. You're not wearing a bra." I turned my head just enough to look at him. "You noticed?" His eyes dropped to my chest, then back up. He didn't reach for me, not yet. "You're married," he whispered. "I know I train you. I shouldn't even be here. I know that too." He let out a slow breath, stepped even closer. My back almost touched his chest. "I want to stop," he said, "but you won't." His silence was the answer. I leaned back a little, just enough that my body grazed his. I felt him stiffen, not in fear and restraint. His breath hitched. His hands twitched at his sides, and still he didn't touch me, but I could feel how badly he wanted to. The rain kept pounding outside, and we stood there suspended, in the kind of moment that burns more than any kiss. He leaned in just enough for his breath to brush my neck. "I think about how tight you felt," he murmured every time. I gripped the window frame. "I think about the way you didn't look away." He paused, then "It's say what that you want me again." I didn't speak, not because I didn't want him, but because if I said it out loud, I didn't trust myself to stop. Instead, I turned to face him. Our chests brushed, my lips parted. His hand rose halfway, hovering near my waist, but he didn't touch me. He looked down at my mouth, then stepped back, not out of guilt, out of survival. And just like that, the moment passed. I didn't expect him to come back that night. After the moment at the window, after he stepped away, like it nearly broke him, I figured that was it. That he'd finally chosen to walk away for good. He left without touching me, his face tight with something I couldn't read, pain maybe, or regret, or the kind of desire that becomes dangerous when it doesn't have an outlet. But he texted me at 11:47 p.m. I can't stop thinking about it. I stared at the screen, heart-pounding thumb, frozen above the keyboard, and then the second message came. "If I show up, I won't be able to pretend anymore." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. 10 minutes later, he knocked. I opened the door in a robe and nothing underneath. His eyes swept over me fast, then down. He didn't say anything, neither did I. He stepped in. I closed the door, locked it. And for a full 5 seconds we just stood there in the hallway, breathing. Then he grabbed me, not roughly, not violently, just urgently, like the restraint had finally shattered. His mouth was on mine, hard and hungry, and I kissed him back with everything I'd been holding in. His hands pushed the robe from my shoulders, fingers trailing over bare skin. My body lit up under his touch, like it had been waiting for this heat. When he lifted me effortless like I weighed nothing, I wrapped my arms around his shoulders and my legs around his waist, the backs of my thighs pressed against his forearms as he carried me to the bedroom. He laid me down like I was fragile, then hovered over me, breathing hard. "You sure?" he asked, voice cracked. I nodded. "Oh, you know." But he didn't stop. He undressed slowly. This time his eyes never left mine. My breath caught when he peeled his shirt off, revealing the body I'd studied in gym mirrors for months. Defined solid, the kind of strength that came from discipline, not vanity. I reached for his waistband, tugged, and he let me. He was hard already, and big, too big. I felt his hesitation when he settled between my legs, when he pressed his tip against me and exhaled into the curve of my neck. "It's tight," he whispered, adjusting his position. "Too tight." I pulled my knees higher. "I can take it." He pushed in slow, controlled, but even then his whole body trembled. He paused halfway, shaking his head, like he was losing a battle inside himself. "God," he gasped, "it's keep going." He gritted his teeth and pressed deeper. The stretch made me dig my nails into his shoulders. He was thick, and every inch felt like it might tear me open, but I didn't want him to stop. I wanted to feel it all. When he bottomed out, fully buried inside me, he froze. His forehead dropped to mine. "You okay?" he rasped. I nodded, breathless. "Don't move yet." He was shaking, and so was I. My body clenched around him involuntarily, and he groaned low and broken into my mouth. "Jesus, you don't talk," I whispered. "Just move." So he did, slow deep, each thrust a test of control, his hips rolling against mine in measured, aching rhythm. His hands gripped my thighs, guiding me into every motion, and his breath scattered across my jaw as he pushed harder, deeper, his body starting to lose the battle against restraint. I met every movement, wrapping myself around him, feeling the tension build where our bodies locked. I could feel him pulsing inside me, every flex of him against my walls, every ragged breath that left his mouth. He wasn't silent. He whispered my name over and over, like it was the only word he still remembered, and I whispered his back. When he came, it hit him like a wave, his whole body locking, his arms, trembling mouth open against my neck. He didn't pull out. He couldn't. He just held still deep inside me, his breath catching in his throat, his hands gripping my hips like he didn't know how to let go. I ran my fingers through his hair. We stayed like that, breathing, sweating, sinking. His body slowly relaxed over mine, his weight settling his face, buried in the crook of my shoulder like he needed to hide from something. "I shouldn't have come," he whispered. "But you did." He lifted his head. His eyes were glassy. "I don't know what this is anymore. It's not nothing." He nodded. "I know." He pulled out slowly, carefully, his body still twitching from the intensity. I winced, the emptiness sharp. He rolled to the side and lay beside me, one arm flung across his eyes, his chest still rising and falling fast. I didn't ask him to leave, and he didn't offer to go. He slept in my bed that night. I woke up twice, once to find his fingers tracing my spine, once to find his hand between my legs, again stirring something raw and familiar. The second time he didn't ask if I was sure, and I didn't need to answer. I woke up to the sound of the front door closing. He was gone. No note, no text, no shirt on the floor this time. Just his scent still lingering on the pillow beside me, salt skin sweat, and the imprint of his body still warm in the sheets. I laid there for a long time, staring at the ceiling, like it might offer a reason I could live with. My thighs ached in that deep, used way. My skin felt tender, and the guilt didn't come all at once. It seeped in slow. I got up, showered, and stood under the water for longer than I needed. Every place he touched still burned, not from regret, but from memory. I washed between my legs last. Not gently, like I could scrub it away if I tried hard enough. I couldn't. Downstairs I made coffee and checked my phone. Nothing from him. No, last night was a mistake. No. We need to talk. Just silence, which somehow made it worse. My husband was flying home that afternoon. I had just enough time to clean the house, strip the sheets, wipe down the counters, and erase the trail of the man I let back into my bed. I even opened the windows for a while, hoping the breeze would carry something away. It didn't. By the time my husband walked in with his suitcase, I was standing in the kitchen, wearing a clean smile and a glass of wine already poured for him. He kissed me on the cheek, asked how the week went, said he missed me. I lied. Quiet, I told him. Uneventful. He didn't notice. That night we sat on opposite ends of the couch, watching a show we didn't care about, his hand barely brushing my thigh, once in the whole 2 hours. And still I flinched. Not because of him, because of what I missed, because of the weight of David's body, the way he looked at me like he was drowning, and I was the only air left. I went to bed early, pretended I had a headache. He didn't follow. For the next few days I didn't hear from David. I told myself that was good. Smart, clean, that we'd burned it out of our systems, that it had to stop. But I still checked my phone, constantly. And then a week later, I ran into him at the gym. I hadn't cancelled our training. That would have raised questions. I just pushed it back. But when I walked in that morning, he was already there, towel over his shoulder, clipboard in hand, expression unreadable. I froze when I saw him. He gave me a nod. Professional. Almost distant. I hated how much that hurt. We started the session in silence. I kept my head down. He didn't correct my form as much. He didn't touch me. He didn't even look directly at me, not really. I almost thought I imagined it, until I sat back into a squat and caught him watching the curve of my hips in the mirror. His jaw was tight, his eyes heavy. We didn't talk about it until the last 5 minutes of the session. I was grabbing my bag when he said, "Can we talk?" I didn't turn around. Here, no. Not here. We ended up back in my car. I sat in the driver's seat engine off, fingers gripping the wheel. He sat beside me, head down, elbows on his knees. "I don't know what I'm doing anymore," he said. "Neither do I. This isn't just physical. I know. And that's what scares me." He looked at me, then eyes raw and tired. "If we keep this up, we're going to destroy everything. Then why does it still feel like the only part of my life that's real?" He didn't answer. Because he didn't need to. He reached over, brushed his knuckles down my arm. That was all it took. My body leaned toward him instinctively. But then he pulled back fast. "We can't keep doing this. Someone's going to find out." His words hit hard because they weren't a warning. They were a promise. I nodded slowly. "Then what?" He looked down at his lap. "Then I don't know what I'll do." He opened the door and got out. I watched him walk away. And for the first time since this started, I realized something that hadn't sunk in until that moment. We weren't falling into something. We were already buried in it. It unraveled in the quietest way. No slammed doors, no screaming confrontation. Just a sentence dropped casually over lunch that changed everything. We were at a neighborhood get-together. One of those backyard barbecues where everyone pretends they're still close, where wives talk about Pilates and husbands debate grills. I hadn't seen David in 2 weeks. I thought I could handle it, that the space would give us both a way out. And then I heard his name. "I think my niece is seeing that trainer of yours," my friend Lisa said, as she handed me a drink, David, the tall one. She said he mentioned one of his married clients had gotten a little too friendly. My blood went cold. I smiled, tried to laugh it off. "Seriously," Lisa shrugged. "He didn't name anyone. But you know how this stuff travels." I told her trainers cross lines all the time. I excused myself before she could finish the thought. In the bathroom, I stared at myself in the mirror, not flushed, not panicked, just empty. He had talked not to her niece, maybe not directly, but enough to make me wonder enough to twist something inside me. Later that night, I texted him. "Did you tell someone?" He replied 5 minutes later. "No. But someone might have guessed. I didn't say your name, but you said enough. I'm sorry." He called after that, but I didn't answer because suddenly it wasn't about me anymore. It was about exposure consequences, humiliation. I didn't sleep that night. My husband noticed something was off, asked if I was okay. I said I was just tired. He rubbed my back, told me to take it easy. I nodded and hated myself. The next morning, David showed up at my house unannounced. He looked wrecked, pale, underslept, like he hadn't been able to breathe since the last time we spoke. "I didn't mean for this to happen," he said the moment I opened the door. "I didn't tell anyone anything real, I swear." I stepped outside, closed the door behind me. "You didn't have to say anything real," I said. "You just had to say enough." He shook his head. "I never wanted this to hurt you, but it will." He stepped forward, stopped short. "I didn't tell her about us, but someone saw me come here, one of the guys at the gym. He made a comment about my off-hours appointments. It got around." I stared at him. "So what now?" "I'm leaving the gym," he said. "I already gave notice." My breath caught. "Why, to keep you safe?" "That's not your job." "It is now." I didn't say anything for a long time. He looked down. "You don't have to worry anymore. It's over. No one will come looking. No one will find out." I hated that part of me wanted to stop him. I hated more that I didn't. He reached out once, his hand brushing my arm, tentative, familiar. "I just needed you to know," he said, "you meant more than a mistake." Then he walked away. No kiss, no promise, just the end. The next few days passed in strange stillness. No texts, no gym sessions, just echoes and silence. I went back to life, my husband, my job, my house. But nothing felt quite right. Every time I touched a doorknob, I half expected to feel him behind it. Every time I heard a phone buzz, I hoped it was him, and hated myself for hoping. Weeks later, I saw a new trainer at the gym. She introduced herself, asked what my goals were, smiled too brightly. I smiled back, told her I was just trying to feel strong again. That night, I found David's old towel still in my laundry basket. I hadn't touched it, just shoved it under a pile of clothes and forgotten. I held it for a minute, then dropped to the floor and pressed my face into it, breathing in the last trace of him I had left. I cried for the first time, not from heartbreak, from the unbearable weight of remembering how alive I'd felt in the moments I never should have allowed. How he made me feel like someone worth trembling for, not just desired, not just seen, needed, loved. Maybe I don't know. What I do know is that I still wake up sometimes reaching for him even now. Even when I shouldn't. I crossed a line I can't uncross, but for one night I felt like a woman again.